Hey group, welcome back to Endorsed by Heaven, where we believe that if God said it, it's already settled. I'm your host, Bianca Mills, and today's episode is titled, Just a Little Goes a Long Way. Ooh, I like the way that sounds. So today we're diving into a powerful story in 2 Kings 4, verse 1-7, where a desperate widow brings her not enough to the feet of Elisha and ends up with more than enough. If you've ever felt like you're running on empty or wondering how you'll make it with what's left, this word is for you. So our text is 2 Kings, right? I'm going to read it for you. 2 Kings 4, verse 1. It says, "The wife of a man from the company of the prophets cried out to Elisha, 'Your servant, my husband, is dead, and you know that he revered the Lord. But now his creditors is coming to take my 2 sons as his slaves.' Elisha replied to her, 'How can I help you? Tell me, what do you have in your house?'" Wow. Yo, that gets me every time. Why would he ask her, what do you have in your house? Then, okay. "Your servant has nothing there at all." That's her first response. Then she says, "Except a small jar of olive oil." She got to thinking, like, I have something. Elisha said, "Go around and ask all your neighbors for empty jars. Don't ask for just a few. Then go inside and shut the door behind you and your sons. Pour oil into all the jars, and as each is filled, put it to one side." So she left him and shut the door behind her and her sons. They brought the jars to her, and she kept pouring. When all the jars were full, she said to her son, "Bring me another one." But he then replied, "There is not a jar left." Then the oil stops flowing. That's a sermon. That right there is a message. Then the oil stopped flowing. She went and told the man of God, and he said, "Go, sell the oil and pay your debts. You and your sons can live on what's left." That's a bar. This story is already taking me out. Like, it says, if I could start it, let me just give y'all a summary. I know I just read it, but let me give a summary. So a widow cries out to the prophet Elijah. Her husband and a man who feared God is dead. She's left with debt, and the creditor is coming to take her 2 sons as slaves. She's at her breaking point. Elisha asks her, "What do you have in your house?" She replies, "Nothing, except a small jar of olive oil." Elisha tells her to borrow as many empty vessels as she can. Go inside with her sons, shut the door, and pour oil into the jars. As she pours, every jar fills up. When there are no more jars, the oil stops flowing. She sells the oil, pays off the debt, and lives on the rest. So the way this thing even starts blows my mind. Like, this lady goes, she finds Elisha, like, "Yo, my husband used to work for you. And like, my husband, like, he died. And he loved God." Like, she goes, and her perspective is like, my husband died. He loved the Lord. And they coming to take my kids. That was it. She didn't say, like, what can you do for me? How can you help me? It was just like, that was it. It was within what she was saying. Like, my husband has died. My husband worked for you. My husband was in the company, and he loved God. So what's up? What's somebody gonna do for me? Because my husband loved the Lord. Now, I don't know if this lady loved the Lord. I don't know if this lady revered the Lord. I just don't know. Because right now she going off of what her husband did. Her husband loved the Lord. And so because her husband loved the Lord must do something for her. Like, that's the truth of the matter here. And so Elisha's like, "Okay, how can I help you? Like, I could do something for you. How can I help you? What you got in your house?" If I'm the lady, I'm turning around. "Man, sir, what? What do I have in my house?" She was like, "Nothing. Your servant has nothing." This story makes me laugh. Like, I'm literally laughing because her default setting is nothing. Not a thing. Dry. Nothing. She revered that oil, that bottle of oil, as nothing. Yo, to the widow, the oil was insignificant. But to God, let me tell you, he don't need abundance. He just needs availability. He just needs what's available. Because let's go back. Exodus 4:2, right? When God calls Moses, he asked Moses, what is that in your hand? Now, if you guys know, Moses had a staff in his hand. And a staff was just for a shepherd to help steer the sheep in the right direction. But God, with God's power, that staff split seas, it summoned plagues, it set captives free. Which then tells me what's ordinary to us becomes extraordinary in God's hand. Ooh, I'm blowing my own brain. Stop disqualifying yourself because of what you think you lack. God doesn't require perfection. He requires surrender. Give me what's in your hand. What do you have in your hand? Even your smallest offering, your time, your creativity, your prayer, your yes is more than enough for God to start something supernatural in your life. So she's like, I don't have nothing. Except a small jar of oil. So Elijah's like, all right, here, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go around, you're going to ask all your neighbors for empty jars. Don't ask for just a few. Then go inside, shut the door. Empty jars. Elisha, all right, this is wild. In my brain, this is wild. You want me to go ask for jars? Elisha tells her to go ask for empty jars and not just a few. Sometimes we cry out for miracles, but we haven't made room for them. Ooh. We have not made room for said miracles. The miracles was connected to how many jars she bought in. If she only bought in 3 jars, she was going to get 3 jars full of oil. But the oil wouldn't have stopped pouring if she had more than 3. Let me change how I'm going to say that. I'll change it. If she only bought 3 jars, the oil would have stopped at 3. Is that better? Did y'all understand that better? The oil did not stop flowing until there was no more space. When you closed up, when there's no more space inside of you, when you are convinced, you are sure, you have nothing left, that's it, the oil stops pouring. But the more capacity, the more space you make, the more room you have, the more the oil keeps flowing. If you're praying for God to move in your life, make space. Stretch your faith. Clear the clutter. Let him fill the places you emptied in trust. The places that you've emptied in trust. So she gets the oil. She asks her neighbors for oil. And then what they do next is the next thing that Elijah tells her to do, which is to shut the door. Shut the door. So she left Elisha. She shut the door behind her and her sons. And they brought the jars to her and she kept pouring. Sometimes breakthrough doesn't happen under lights and applause. It happens behind closed doors in unseen spaces where it's just you, your faith, and your obedience. You gotta have a group. I'm looking at the fact that she had 2 sons. One represented her faith and one represented her obedience. There's something sacred about private pouring. This wasn't just about provision. It was about obedience. It was about her faith. She poured without knowing how it would work. What is faith, group? Y'all not. Let me give it to y'all. Now, faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Out of obedience, she got the jars, she closed the doors behind her and started pouring. Through faith, she poured without knowing how it would work. She poured because she trusted the God who said to pour. That oil flowed until there were no more jars left. Listen, the oil did not run out. The opportunity did. The oil did not run out. The oil never runs out. God never runs out. God never falls short. God never. He just never. The only limit is how much room you're willing to make. Now, let's be honest here. How often do we disqualify ourselves because we feel like what we have isn't enough? I only have a little energy. I only have a few people supporting me. I only have a small platform. I only have this broken story. Let me tell y'all. So I was watching the Hub the other day, and Pastor Pat is on the Hub, and he said this one line, and then he repeated the one line, and it blows my mind every time. And it's about how we don't let God use our story. Whew. And I said, what? And I could think about my life. I felt like my story was so broken that I needed to become this kind of person for God to use me. But it wasn't true. Guess what? I only have this little broken story. But God has a pattern of doing a lot with a little. There's so much evidence of God doing a lot with just a little. So we have to stop despising what we have. We need to instead despise the lie that says that it's not enough. God isn't asking for what you don't have. He's asking for what's in your hand. And when you give it back to him, he multiplies it, not you. He multiplies it. So stop comparing your little to someone else's overflow. Stop trusting yourself. Stop being delusional and thinking that what you have is a little bit and that God can't use it. Instead, start trusting the God who multiplies the little when it's placed in his hand. If you feel small, if you feel tired, if you feel like your oil is running low, don't panic. Just keep pouring. Just keep showing up. Just keep making space. Because in the kingdom of God, just a little goes a long way. Man, God knows exactly what he's doing. God knows how to multiply exactly what we place in his hand. If we're willing, God will teach us to value the oil, even when it seems like it's just a little. God will give us the boldness to prepare, to pour, and to trust him with the outcome. We just need to make room. Well, I'm done for today. And if this bless you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs the reminder that their little is more than enough in God's hand. And I want you to remember this question, and I want you to ask yourself this question throughout the week. What's one small thing you're trusting God to multiply this week? What's one small thing I'm trusting God to multiply this week? Well, until next time, keep pouring because you're endorsed by heaven.